Bienvenidos al club. Aquí estamos un día más en NBAdictos. Ya sabéis que el día habitual es los lunes, pero de vez en cuando os traemos especiales. Esta semana tuvimos el retrovisor con ese homenaje que le rendimos a Elvin Hayes, leyenda de los Bullets y leyenda de la NBA, pero esta semana hay un extra más. Y es que hoy charlamos con una leyenda de la NBA, con una leyenda del baloncesto en Torrelavega y en Santiago de Compostela. Hoy charlamos con Marc Jackson. Aquí comienza el capítulo 563 de NBAdictos. Y ya sabéis que, como todas las entrevistas que hacemos en inglés, va a ser el programa, vamos a hacer la charla con Marc en inglés. Luego, durante la semana, pues lo traduciré, lo doblaré y lo subiremos doblado. Así que nos pasamos al inglés ahora mismo. Mr. Marc Jackson, welcome. Nice to have you in the show. Thank you for being with us. How is everything in Philly?
Everything is good. Everything is wonderful in Philly. The weather is beautiful. The life is beautiful. It's just great to be here.
Obviously, I said it in the intro. You are an NBA legend. But here in Spain, we have a lot of love for you in two places, mainly in Torrelavega and in Santiago de Compostela. You've been here like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yes.
It was a tribute in Torrelavega because you start your professional career here in overseas. You play in Turkey, but then you arrive to Torrelavega, to SAB Torrelavega, Lobos Cantabria, and you spend there some good time.
Yes, very good times. Listen, a lot of people know Spain as a second home for me. I frequent there quite a lot. It's like family, you know. Cantabria, you know, they did an incredible job of welcoming me as one of their own. Having said that, you know, when I retired from playing basketball, I wanted to live in Spain. I wanted to retire there. My wife at the time, you know, kind of begged me to come back to the States. But I love Spain. When my children go to college, I will be moving back there permanently. I just love it.
And we love you back. I'm talking to you now. We're going to talk about NBA, but I'm talking to you from Santiago.
Okay.
You retired after a little time here in Obradoiro.
Yes.
It was kind of sad for us as fans because you said in the moment that you feel that you weren't as good as you wanted to be, but we felt that you helped a lot that team. How it was your months here in Santiago with the fan base of Obradoiro, and how difficult it was to take that decision?
First of all, the fan base in Santiago is wonderful. The arena was wonderful. The staff of Santiago was Obradoiro was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Everything was beautiful. It got to the point where, for me, when I would wake up at night, I was just be in pain. Like, you know, everybody has pain, but like I was in very bad pain. My knees, my back, and it was getting hard to constantly practice, to constantly play. And I could not be 100% to the point where it affected me with my children. I don't know if you remember when I played there, my children were very young, and I'm a very silly dad. So I will always run with my children, play with my children, rush with my children. And at that time, it was my son Sharif, my son Sammy, and I was so much pain I couldn't play with my children. So, and it was affecting me on the basketball court. I really could not be 100%, and it just brought more pain on my body than the pleasure of playing. So I had to retire. But with that being said, the love of Santiago is always here. I felt as though I let the fan base down when I retired, but I just couldn't do it no more. It was affecting my daily life. But I love my town. I love it.
I can tell you that you didn't let down anyone because you were honest. The easy way it would be to let it go, not be as hard as training on and playing and let the season end and then go back to the States. But you were so honest,
Thank you.
and we saw you playing and suffering on court, and that's why we remember you, and so much love is here for you in Santiago.
Thank you, brother.
But we are in NBAdictos, so we are NBA addicts, and it's our show. So we have to talk about NBA.
Yes.
I have a couple of videos, and I will put you later. You play in the NBA. You were drafted in '97, but we said before you play overseas.
Yes.
We mentioned SAB Torrelavega, and then you have the opportunity to join the NBA and join the Golden State Warriors. That now we think about the Warriors, and the young people is like they are legends, such great team, but back in 2000 it wasn't that way.
Yeah. Yeah, Golden State. Yeah, when I played at Golden State, we were struggling. We were struggling. Unfortunately, for 2 years, we had a lot of injuries, very, very bad injuries that people could not play for 1 year or 2 years. And at one point, we only had 7 guys healthy. We just couldn't get healthy. So we really couldn't have an opportunity to really play good basketball because we didn't have a chance to be healthy. And it led us to be one of the worst teams in the league. But I still have a lot of good friends from that team. A lot of guys still think about that. They think about that was the worst year of their careers because everybody got injured, even me. My first year, I had a bad injury where I had to be done for the season. And then my second year, everybody was hurt again. So it was very unfortunate. But it's good to see Golden State where they are now. They're a different team, a different culture. They're winning. Steph Curry has changed the game of basketball. Everyone in the world, they don't want to be like Mike. They want to be like Steph. And because of that, he's changed the game.
Yeah, and also I'm an old school guy, so I really appreciate that the core of that team is drafted by the Warriors. We're talking
Yes,
about
good point.
Steph, we're talking about Clay, we're talking about Draymond, and also some choices in the draft that in that days they weren't so clear. Remember Johnny Flynn was
Yes.
drafted before Curry. Clay was an 11. Draymond was 35. So it was a really good job, a nice work in the organization to get to that point.
It was. It was. So now that's difficult for teams to have 3 stars that was drafted by their team. Now, because of the way free agency works, you can become a good team by going to get free agents from other teams. But I think it does something special for the fans when you draft guys and they blossom in front of the fans because it's more personal for the fans. It's more personal that their team is winning championships with the guys they drafted. And when that's the case, it brings the fan base more closer because they feel like is feel like they're older guardians that watch their little ones grow up to blossom into stars. And that's what Golden State has there with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond. They have three stars that blossom right in front of the fan base. And that's why their fan base is so strong.
And you get the link much stronger with the team. I don't want to forget Kevon Looney.
Yes.
I think that
Ah,
everybody forgets Kevon Looney.
and everybody forgets this. When Kevin Looney was first drafted, I believe from UCLA, he had to have hip surgery. He
Yeah.
came in, he was drafted late because he had hip problems. And then early in his career, he had to have hip surgery. And people wondered, will he ever play basketball again? Or if he did, would he be good again? And he's been another staple point. They brought in many big guys, but he still comes out as the big guy that's on top.
Mhm. I think he deserves when he retires an statue because not everything in basketball is making points, 3 points,
Yes.
and grabbing rebounds. You have to you need a glue guy like Kevon, and you need some defense and you need some energy that like he brings off the bench a lot of times. You also play after playing for the Warriors. You went to Minnesota.
Yes.
You were with Kevin Garnett.
Yes.
I don't know if he's so bad as the legend says. Was he nasty with teammates as well with rivals, or because here we remember that scene when he was in Boston with Glenn Davis, Big Baby. He made him cry. Do you remember something similar there in Minnesota? How it
No,
was?
listen, Kevin Garnett is a great guy. He's a great teammate. He's a great father. He's a great friend. He's a great brother. He's just a great guy. Now, with that being said, he's very intense. Kevin Garnett, when we was he just likes to talk trash. So he would talk trash to the opponents. He would talk trash bad. And basketball is not always shaking hands and kissing each other on the cheeks. It's about my goal is to destroy you. And if I'm beating you here mentally, I'm destroying you. So, yes, KG, AKA Kevin Garnett, would talk a lot of trash to guys. And some guys couldn't take it. Was his trash talking hard? Absolutely. But it's part of the game. And it was I talk trash, right? But I was not the player Kevin Garnett was. It got to the point where every time in practice, me and KG guarded each other because we love to play basketball. A lot of guys, respectfully, a lot of guys just love to play basketball because they getting paid for it. They love it when they get to the NBA, start getting paychecks. It becomes a job to them. Not all the guys still fall in love of getting up every day working to play. But me and him love to play. So when we battled in practice, we used to talk so much trash. The coaches used to think we was going to fight. We're like, no, we're not fighting. This is all love. To the point because his nickname was the big ticket, right?
Yeah.
So one of the assistant coaches, after one practice, he's an older guy. I can't remember which coach it was. He's like, hey, Mark, stop talking trash to Kevin Garnett. Like, why? He was like, because it's getting too intense. We don't want our superstar to be too mad. I was like, mad? He loves that. That's what we do. I said, first of all, if you was on the court, I'd talk trash to you. If my mother was on the court, I'm talking trash to my mother. So don't tell me to stop talking trash. I'm always going to talk trash. And we started talking more trash. So we used to have great practices. And Kevin Garnett's a good guy. He's just very intense. That's all.
Do you think that in this era of player empowerment, we see that almost everybody are friends one with another? They train together in summer. Do you think that we are losing that kind of living basketball? I'm thinking about KG. Also, I'm thinking about Kobe or Michael Jordan, and then I don't see that killer instinct in many of the great players of this era.
You know, that's a good question. Excuse me, that's a good question. So let me say this. Giannis is probably the only NBA player that doesn't play against other NBA players in this offseason. And let me tell you why. Because he have three brothers the same size as him in athletic ability. He plays against them all summer. If he didn't have his three brothers, he would be playing against other NBA players. But because he has his three brothers, he doesn't need to play against other NBA players because his brothers are all the same size as him. Most players in NBA in the summer, they do two things. They do a lot of skill work one-on-one with nobody, just some skill work, and they play against somebody. That's what all NBA players do. As you get older, like LeBron and them, you don't play 5-on-5 and all that more time. You play a lot of, you shoot, you work on your skill. You might play some one-on-one, but you rarely play 5-on-5. But Michael Jordan, they built a special gym for players to come to play 5-on-5 with Michael Jordan. My little brother Kobe, he was different. He didn't play much 5-on-5 in the offseason. He just did a lot of skill work. But most guys play 5-on-5. Most guys now don't play 5-on-5 as much because everyone has a trainer. Everyone does mostly everyone does skill work. And they don't play a lot of 5-on-5 because they have a trainer. Everyone has a trainer. Little kids have trainers now. So I'm like, that's okay.
It's something that you said before. Steph Curry changed the game.
Yeah.
He also changed this because I don't remember the name of his trainer, Brandon. I don't know. I think it's Brandon. I don't remember his surname. But he started this drills with tennis balls and with lights and glasses, all that. Skill training, it extended in all around the league.
Yeah, but no. Steph Curry didn't start having personal trainers. A lot of guys had personal trainers. Steph Curry just got
But,
that.
but I mean, but we saw him. That's I think that.
Okay, yes. So yes, Steph Curry, his trainer was very inventive. He used to have him do different things with high technology, and he used to show people on YouTube and stuff like that. So people's like, oh, I have to do that. So yes, I agree with you there. Steph Curry was one of the first ones to put that out there. And as we know, Steph Curry has changed basketball forever. Michael Jordan, everyone wanted to be like Mike. Kobe, everybody couldn't be Kobe because they were tall, they were athletic, they were dunking on people. Steph Curry is close to the normal human being height. So because he's normal height, normal people that's normal height say, I can be Steph. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree with him. Steph's not out there dunking on people. He's very skilled because he worked hard and he fell in love with the game. But he does give hope to a lot of regular people, and that's why a lot of people have decided to say, I'm going to now be a basketball star. So I agree with you there.
Our Spanish announcer in Movistar Plus, the NBA announcer Guille Jimenez, he always says that when he sees Curry, he says, "It's like me. He's like me. He's as tall as me."
Yes, yes, that's what it is. And now, because he's he's in his 30s. Now he has muscles and he looks different. Yeah. But before he looked like this. He was very petite. So people are like, oh my God, if he could do it, I could do it. But now when you look at his legs, you look at his calf, you look at his shoulders, he's now muscular. Because over time, when you train with weights, it's nothing but sets and reps. Over time, your body starts changing to form what you've been trying to create. And Steph takes advantage of that.
My partner Danny Hea says, hi Mark, you've played some big rivalries games in Europe like Olympiacos, Panathinaikos.
Yes.
How do you compare it with Sixers Celtics, for example?
Let's just say when I played for the Sixers and we played against the Boston Celtics, and that rival is a lot safer than Olympiacos Panathinaikos, because listen, my first game with Olympiacos and we played against Panathinaikos, it was in our gym. It was in our Olympiacos gym. And I'm on the foul line. And my teammate, Lynn Greer, who's a friend of mine from Philadelphia, I've known for many years, he was there before me. So he knew about the Panathinaikos Olympiacos rivalry. I did not. So I'm on the free throw line. I shoot my first free throw. And I look up in the stands, and there's a fire in the stands. I'm like, y'all see there's a fire there, right? Am I the only one that sees this big fire in the stands? and the referee seen my face, and he came over to me. He said, "Hey, Mark, this rivalry is a war." He said, "Just be happy. All you see is a fire up there and not a dead body." He said, "So shoot this free throw so we can continue with the game." And I was like, and I'm looking at my buddy Lynn. I'm looking for a guy like Lynn. He said, "Mark, this is normal. Just play." I'm like, okay. So yeah. So that rivalry, Panathinaikos Olympiacos rivalry, is bigger than any rivalry I've been a part of.
You mentioned the Sixers. Obviously, you are born and raised in Philadelphia.
Yes.
We will talk later that we see your T-shirt, and you are now an analyst in NBC. How it was? You were before in the Nets, but you ended in the Sixers. How it was playing for your home team? And I think personally that it was your best seasons in the NBA.
You know, for me, it was. I loved it. I love playing in Philadelphia, but a lot of people didn't. I have a lot of teammates from Philadelphia that did not like playing for Philadelphia because they didn't like the pressure that the media put on them, that everyone in the city put on them for playing in their hometown. For me, I loved it. I love pressure though. I love the good pressure. I love the bad pressure. I love the fact that I walk around in Philadelphia and the fans say, "Mark, you play horrible. You got to be better." I didn't get mad. I'm like, "You're right. You're right. Okay, I can take it." And a lot of people can't. A lot of people like, oh my God, leave me alone. I had one teammate that played for us is from here. He played for Philly for, I think, 1 year. And for 1 year, he locked himself in the home and never came out. He never came out of his house. He said, "I just don't want to see nobody because the pressure and the noise from the fans, I can't take it." And he wasn't playing a lot, but because he wore that Sixers uniform, everybody just wanted a piece of him, as well as you have access to people, too many people have access to you because you're home. A lot of guys didn't love it, but I loved every minute.
The fans of the Sixers are particular. I normally listen. I don't know if you. I assume that you do. If you know the rights to Ricky Sanchez, that Sixers podcast.
Yes.
It's great, but it's very funny for me because I don't cheer for the Sixers. I listen to many podcasts from local podcasts. I think that is the way to understand better the teams and their fan base. And in that podcast, the Philadelphia fans are like, or everything is great and you are gonna be the champions 3 years in a row, or everything is horrible and it's better to burn down the garden. There is no middle point.
It's none. You're right. It's not with that podcast. I don't know about that, but that's how Philadelphia is. Like when you see a game, if you make a shot, they're like, "Yeah, we good. We gonna win the championship." If you miss 2 shots in a row, boo! Get off the court. You suck. You horrible. I'm gonna see you after the game. That's how the fans are. But you know, it's no middle ground. You can't win by 1 point. Like, oh, it's a good game. We won. Like, no, we suck because you should have won by 20. Or if you lose by 1 in a double overtime game, like this is the worst team Philadelphia's ever put out there. Those are the scenarios. It's no in between. You're right. It's no middle ground. And that's unfortunate. And a lot of players speak about it. It bothers a lot of players. A lot of players can't take it, but I don't know.
I think that you enjoy. You said you enjoyed playing for the Sixers. I don't know if I have here a game against Miami against Shaquille that you scored 26 points. You played with Allen Iverson, with we said before with Kevin Garnett. Um, how do you remember your teammates and your rivals? Mm, Tell me two names of teammates that you remember in every category you said, or like teammate or basketball quality, and also rivals.
So teammates, I had some great teammates. One of my best teammates, one of my favorite teammates, was Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was a warrior. Allen Iverson was smaller than Steph Curry. He was a lot
Mhm.
smaller than Steph Curry, but he didn't shoot many jump shots. He always went in there with the big giants and was finishing and shooting in the lane against the bigger, stronger guy. Allen Iverson, I loved him because he was a tough dude. He was a tough guy, and he loved to play the game. Um, and then also Aaron McKee. Aaron McKee was one of my favorite teammates on that team because I mean Aaron and I grew up together. We grew up together, and he was another guy. We grew up in Philadelphia, and we're playing for our hometown. That was a special place in your heart, special place. And then I had another teammate named John Sammons. John Sammons was from Philadelphia as well, and he
Mhm.
played with us too. So we had three Philly guys playing on Philly at the same time. So with John, John didn't necessarily like playing in Philly because he didn't like everybody having access to him. But
Mhm.
me and Aaron stayed to himself. But me, I didn't care. Like it was fine, but we loved it. So my rivals at that time, the biggest rival for us was Toronto. Toronto was our biggest rival because of uh, Vince Carter, Alvin Williams, who was their point guard, who was from Philadelphia. So they had a really good team, and we always competed against them to go to the finals or to get close. So I would say Toronto and Vince Carter was our rivals at the time.
Mhm. You later let me change this. You later play in the Nets, as we said before, and also in the Hornets.
Yes.
With another legend of this game, like Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul's my guy. Chris Paul is a great dude, man. He's a great guy. He's a leader. He's a leader. He's a floor general, and I like him because he's a warrior. Chris Paul likes to hold people accountable. Like he's on you. He's like, hey man, do your job, do this. And people, a lot of people can't do that because money sometimes changes people's perception of who they are. Meaning, because I have a lot of money, I'm playing the NBA. I think I sometimes forget I don't know everything. But the interesting part about Chris was Chris would make sure on that court, he was like a coach on the court. He made sure if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, he would get on you like, hey, you didn't do your job. Do your job. And if he didn't do his job, he wanted you to get on him as well. But over time, a lot of players like, oh, I'm doing my job. I can't. They kind of get tired of it. I loved it. I love to be held accountable. That's just the person I am. But Chris Paul was a warrior, and also Chris Paul, once again, not a big guy, but he has a huge chip on his shoulder and he has a huge heart, and he plays with it to the max. And that's how Chris Paul, to me, is one of my ultimate competitors.
Mhm. We talked about the Sixers before. You now work as an analyst. I saw you with a broom in one of those shows. How is that transition from the court in a few years to be in a TV stage? And I'm talking about your team because in these years we witness the process. But that process only stops in the second round with all the pressure that we talked before that you have in there in Philly. How is everything seen there? How it was seen it from the other side?
It was a smooth. I believe it was a smooth transition into becoming an analyst. But I will say this: the hardest part for me is sometimes I have to be very critical of players. And when I first got into that role, it was difficult for me to be really critical to guys because I was a player. So it got to the point where I had to say, look, this is my job. This is what I do, my career rather. This is what I do. If a guy needs to be called out, I'm going to call him out. I got to say something because I'm a former player. So even though I'm retired, once you're an NBA player, you're always an NBA player. It's only been 5,000 NBA players ever. 5,000 NBA players ever. So once you become one of those, it's kind of hard to disconnect from that. But over time, over years, you learn that you got to just be honest. And being honest is the number one thing. If you're honest, if you're not fabricating, if you're not embellishing things, then everything's understood. So for me, when I start being honest, just, hey, I got to be on you. Everything became good. That was the hardest part. And I really enjoy being connected to basketball. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy that I can be connected and still stay as part of it. And I just continue to do that.
And how do you see these Sixers? We talk about the team a lot because of the James Harden situation. We said in our show that we think that these Sixers played better without James, regardless his numbers. We think that with Tyrese Maxey, they are more organic and they can flow better. And we saw this beginning of the season. How do you see the team this year? How do you see that trade that led James Harden to the Clippers? The players that came back to the Sixers, because I think that the Sixers get a lot of things that they can use, and Danny Hare, for example, thinks that they get a little bit only. How do you see it, and how do you see the team for this season?
First, I'm gonna speak on the trade. To me, at first, when the whole thing came down with James Harden said he wants to be traded, at first I'm looking at it like James Harden is a Hall of Fame player. That's 20 points and it's 10 assists that we're gonna lose. So I was like, oh, how are we gonna replace that? He's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest shooting guards or guards ever. And then once the trade, but then I start seeing the chemistry of the team when he wasn't playing, and I loved it. I loved the way the ball moved. Everyone touched the ball. And the biggest impact to me was, yes, the ball moved offensively. Yes, the team played faster. Also, Maxey was able to be on the ball. I love that. The biggest thing, the difference I see is I see the defense, how fast we are on defense, how we're able to rotate faster, recover faster. We're more physical defensively. That's been the brightest thing that I've seen. Now, with that being said, Maxey's flourished so much. He's flourished so much. Being on the ball, being able to be the point guard, which I think he is a point guard. Maxey reminds me of Tony Parker, when Tony Parker played for San Antonio, because Tony Parker utilized his speed to get points in the paint. But he was also playing with Hall of Fame centers and big guys like Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So that's what it was. So Maxey is playing with a Hall of Fame guy in Joel Embiid, and he's able to flourish, but he gives him a different way of scoring the ball, and he has a bigger impact. So I thought that trade was tremendous. I like the new pieces on our team, but we're not finished. Because with the trade of James Harden, we have 4 draft picks. We have 2 first rounders and 2 second rounders that we can trade. And just that alone is good enough to bring you another all-star caliber player. So their Sixers are not done getting better. And I think this team has a very good chance of getting further than they ever have. And I think it's important to get further than Joel Embiid's ever been to keep Joel Embiid happy.
But we also have to look to Joel Embiid, because everyone in Philly is saying, as you said, you have to keep Joel Embiid happy. But history says that Joel Embiid, I call him the James Harden of the frontcourt. But
Really?
because when the playoffs arrive, he something happens. He plays a little bit worse. He always gets injured. I think that he needs. I don't care the teammates. I think that he needs to make a step forward in the playoffs. We know that he can be the best player of the regular season, but I think that maybe this season he needs to take care of himself during the regular season, and then take a step in the playoffs and saying, this is my team and I'm leading it to pass that second round. And I think.
Okay, so you're entitled to your opinion. So let's talk about Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, unfortunately, have in playoffs, the only thing that's hurt Joel Embiid was injuries. Joel's got hurt in 3 straight playoffs, where he had to miss some games because of injury and be able to recover in order to play. That's no excuse, because the best ability is availability, right? That's the best ability it is. If you can't play, we don't care how good you are, you can't play. So I think that has something to do with Joel's lack of ability to be so dominant. Also, I think it's also the talent around you. I thought the year they had Jimmy Butler, when Kawhi Leonard hit that shot that bounced around the room 20 times, I think that was their best chance, their best overall team to get to the finals. Then you look at last year, getting to game 6 to close it out in Philadelphia, you lose. Then you go to Boston and you lose in game 7. That was horrible. No excuses for that. And Joel Embiid and James Harden were not great in game 6 and game 7.
They disappear in the last quarter.
They did not play well. So with that being said, they know that too. Joel knows that too. Joel knows in order for him to be solidified as one of the best big men ever, you have to lead your team to the promised land, and that's to the NBA Finals. And I think it's been enough years that this has to be the year.
That's why I said that he has to take care of himself during the regular season. He already has that MVP that he wanted, so I think that you have the best chance in all these years because all that we said, the chemistry. I think you have the better coach that ever coached Joel Embiid, and I don't know if you agree.
I think Nick Nurse is going to be a great change for Joel Embiid. I also believe I like the way Nick Nurse is going to come in with different schemes. You know, before Nick Nurse got here, everyone referred to him as the mad scientist because of different things he did on the defensive end and different philosophies he had. So this is a different voice, different scheme for Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid so far is flourishing in this. I think that's important to keep in mind. But it's important to realize that Joel has to be Joel. He cannot wait. He has to come out now and just and lead this team. Because I agree, you can be MVP. You got your MVP, right? But you are looked at as an MVP that doesn't have a final appearance, like Jokic. Like if you would ask anyone in the world, 99% of people say Jokic is the best big man in the world. Yes, he's a good player. Yes, their numbers are similar. But Jokic now has a final. He has an NBA championship. So no matter if Joel Embiid could be MVP 3-4 years in a row, most people always say Jokic is here because he has that NBA ring. And when you have that NBA ring, it means so much. So when you got to be held accountable, and winning comes with accountability. So Joel has to be better. This team has to be better. And this has to be the year that Joel solidifies himself as the best player in the world because he finishes with a final championship.
We will talk about it in the show. I hope you were. He says that Alberto Becerra says that Nurse is also good for Tobias. I told you half an hour. We have now in 40 minutes, so I'll let you go. I hope that you've been at home in the show, and if you like it. I promise to bother you in the playoffs.
Yes, maybe. yes. Let's do it. I'm down. Let's get it
in. Thank you very much, Marc. It's special for me this program. because as I said, as I saw you here in Obradoiro, I saw you struggling with your injuries and leaving everything on the court. And as our current coach says, Moncho, he said, Obradoiro, it means the place where you work. So you completely match the spirit of the team. I also know that in Torrelavega they love you. They did to you that tribute. Diego Torrelavega says thank you for you. So NBAdictos is your home, and I promise to bother you in the playoffs.
Let's do it, brother. Let's do it.
Thank you very much, Marc.
Thank you.